Are you confused by all the cameras that have been announced by Fujifilm this past several years? Are you looking for your first Fujifilm camera and are confused by what these numbers and letters mean? In today's video, I hope to make your life a little bit easier by explaining the many cameras that are in the Fujifilm X lineup. You just got so many cameras that seem to be released over the past few years. You got the Fujifilm GFX 100RF, the Fujifilm XHalf, the Fujifilm XE5, the Fujifilm XM5, the Fujifilm SEX69, and there's just many more to come. And I'll go over with you the difference between these two cameras and who I think these cameras are for. And that way you can make a smarter decision when you decide to make your first Fujifilm camera purchase. So why don't we go ahead and get started. Before we begin, we have to talk about the two cameras that perhaps came out like 3 years ago. These are supposedly Fujifilm's flagship when it comes to the APS-C lineup. They are, however, made for professionals in mind because of the way their body is designed. It looks modern. It's got the utilitarian body design that you find that are similar in other camera brands. It doesn't have those dials that you see in something like the Fujifilm X-T5 and the X Pro line or even the X106 cameras. The Fujifilm XH2 and X-H2s all comes in the same body. These cameras are at the top and all the specs and technology of these cameras trickle down to the other more affordable cameras that you see for you today. These cameras are weather sealed. They have dual SD card slot, but one is for a CF Express Type B. And depending on which one you get, they both do different things. The XH2 is more photography based, some good video specs as well. 8K 30, 4K 60 with some crop. No 4K 120 though. It also has the 40 megapixel sensor, all in a modern body, and it reminds me sort of like the Sony A7 IV body in some ways. The EVF and LCD screen are both bright and sharp in this camera. The XH2s is a 26 megapixel sensor. It is a stack sensor, which means faster readout speeds, so faster autofocusing tracking. It can shoot at a higher burst rate. The buffer won't lag, and you can basically shoot at a very fast burst rate for a very long time. And supposedly it can autofocus a lot better than any other cameras out there because of its stack sensor. The XH2s has 6.2K open gate. It also does 4K 60 with no crop, and it's the only camera right now that can do 4K 120 as of this recording. Both of these cameras are equipped with the latest X-Trans processor as well. These are the top of the line cameras. Both cameras have great EVF and back LCD screen. They also have the bigger battery for better battery life. So overall, these two cameras are going to be the most expensive cameras in the X series of cameras for all their features. So now that we got out of the way, let's talk about the cameras that came after that. We're gonna have to talk about the most recent cameras that came out in this past month or so as of this recording. And you got the Fujifilm XE5. So the Fujifilm XE5 is a beautiful looking camera, probably one of the more aesthetically pleasing camera that they have in their camera lineup. So this camera is small. It's a small rangefinder camera, and the design language draws inspiration from the X Pro 3 and the Fujifilm X106. Both are gorgeous looking cameras in their own right. Unlike the Fujifilm XM106, this camera is an interchangeable lens camera, so you can switch lenses if you want to. However, it is not weather sealed, and it does come in the small battery that I don't like. It has a small viewfinder, but you do get the 40 megapixel sensor. You do get image stabilization, and you do get the latest X-Trans processor for better autofocusing tracking and subject tracking and etc. However, I gotta say autofocusing is not up to par like the other camera brands out there. In fact, Fujifilm is at the bottom of this race. So what you're really paying for is the aesthetics and the 40 megapixel sensor, but not reliability. So like I said, just know if you get into Fujifilm, you're buying it for the aesthetics and the vibes and not the reliability. So if you need like a dad camera because you want to take photos of your kids running around playing, frolicking, I would advise looking for a different brand with reliable autofocusing and that can keep up with your kids' juking abilities. Otherwise, you may be frustrated. Price for the Fujifilm XE4 is at $1,700 USD, which is quite high in my opinion. But this is if you live in the States, which majority of my viewers do. If you can't get the XE5, you can go get the XE4 on the used market for a lot less. It won't have the IBIS and it will have the 26 megapixel sensor, which I think is good enough for photos. Moving on. Fujifilm XM5 is probably one of these cameras where I thought no when it first launched. But that being said, I've held one in my hands. I see the appeal. I was talking to a gentleman here who had one, and his reasoning was quite simple. It's affordable living here in Portugal where the wages aren't as high as other EU countries. He wanted an X106 but thought that was way too much money. He wanted something pocketable, something travel friendly, and he was sick and tired of editing on his Sony RAW files. He just wants great colors straight out of the camera. So the XM5 made sense to him. He's not a pro, he's still learning, so he just wants something to start with that fits within his budget. I understand that some folks don't have the budget for like the Fujifilm XS20 because it does have the same guts and just different housing. So if you're okay with the XM5's shortcomings like no EVF, bad LCD screen, no flash, older batteries, no IBIS, I think this is a good starter camera despite all that. Because you're getting something that is compact, small, and something that is an entry-level camera. You can take 26 megapixel photos and you can film in 6.2K open gate if you need it. There are other features here that makes this camera more friendlier for vloggers and the people that are starting out their video content creating journey. However, this camera does not have IBIS, and it's funny that this camera is targeted towards vloggers and content creators. You would think it would have IBIS inside. I guess the lack of IBIS does help with its price point, making it more affordable. It does have digital stabilization, and I always found that the digital stab is not as good as having an actual image stabilization. But other than that, I think it's a great camera. Let's move on. The Fujifilm X100VI. X100VI is a camera that is a rangefinder style. It's also a fixed focal length camera as well. That means you cannot change the lens. The camera does provide a different shooting experience, and it's a great looking camera. And it's also a hard to find camera as well. It has the 40 megapixel sensor, the latest processor. It only has one memory card slot. It uses the older battery, and it also has IBIS. What I like about this camera when I used to own this camera is how fun it was to use, how travel friendly it was. It removed the analysis paralysis from me because of its fixed focal length. Also, the only camera in its lineup to have a leaf shutter. It also has a built-in ND filter, which is awesome. And I believe with the right adapter, you can make this camera weather sealed as well. I got a lot of great travel shots with it and great shots for my wife as well during our travels. I really like using this setup as like a travel documentary type of camera. However, I do find the price and the lack of availability a con for this camera. If I was being pragmatic and sensible, I would get a different camera. There are people selling it on the second-hand market for higher than the MSRP. Me personally, I would just buy something else. I don't think it's worth paying the markup. And I can see how people are willing to buy the hype. If that's you, it's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. This Fujifilm X-T50 came out last year, and to understand the X-T50, you need to know about the older brother, the X-T5. The X-T5 is one of the first cameras to launch with the 40 megapixel sensor. So Fuji's MO and other camera companies is to reuse their sensor they have, but put it in different bodies, as I mentioned earlier. The X-T5 is weather sealed. It has 2 SD card slots, brighter EVF, better battery life, the latest generation of processor, smarter AF detection, and so on. Fujifilm then pick and chooses what sensor goes into which camera bodies. The X-T50 gets the 40 megapixel sensor in a smaller body than the X-T5. So just think of it as like a mini X-T5. So if you're someone that doesn't need all the pro features that the X-T5 offers, the X-T50 is the better choice. If you want something that is small, that has the 40 megapixel sensor, that has the interchangeable lens mount, and you want to take it around with you for your travels, the X-T50 also has IBIS. It looks nice and it's sleek as well, offering you like a nice charcoal colorway for all you hipsters out there. You can have it as a fashion accessory as well. It also comes with one memory card. It's not weather sealed, and it does come with a smaller battery. So let's move on to the Fujifilm XHalf, which I call the novelty camera. Now this camera is for the cool kids who wants to be a photographer, but not really. It's a fun camera, but it's fun worth $850 to you. It's a really tiny camera from what I saw. It's by far the weirdest camera out of the ones that I covered so far, just because the operating system is a little bit different. You get like a tiny sensor in this camera, smaller than a micro four thirds sensor, and it's 18 megapixel. So you know that it'll suck in low light. There's also a lot of like gimmicky stuff in this camera as well, like the filters, and as well, you can program the camera to have like a certain amount of shots, just like a roll of film stock. They're trying to make you experience what shooting a roll of film feels like without ever having to know the cost it takes to buy a film, paying for it to get developed, and so on. Now, this is a camera that I'm not knowledgeable in, and I haven't tried it. I can just tell right off the bat this camera isn't for me. First off, I'm a tech guy, and there's nothing in this camera that screams like I want this camera for me. I'm also a dollar per value kind of guy as well. Sometimes I have to check the value of the camera, and for what the specs is offered in this camera and for the price of it, you can get the Fujifilm XM5 for relatively the same price. XM5 has a bigger sensor, so it means it's better in low light. It has better video capabilities as well, and you can change lenses. So who's this camera for really? Well, it's for the girlies who aren't really into specs, who aren't educated in the camera tech world, who just wants a camera that could take some, pretty looking photos straight out of camera JPEGs. These are for the folks who really don't want to learn about photography, but just wanted to get like a good photo. So if you're someone like this, sure, get this camera. It does that really well from what I tell with its film simulations and its colors. Like my friend, she bought a Canon G7X Mark III for $2,000. And I just thought, good Lord. I just thought, why? And the reason why she bought it is because of the hype. She bought it because everyone said how good that camera is, and it has good colors, so she doesn't need to edit it. And that's who the Fujifilm XHalf is intended for. So she's someone who doesn't really care about the specs. She just wants something that works, that can, make memories, that provides better colors than her iPhone. She doesn't want to edit it, and she just wants something cute and pocketable that she can put in her bag or her purse. Someone like her, she doesn't really care if it's a great technical camera with like sharp images with great autofocusing. For her, it's about making memories, and it's about the vibes, and this camera is all about the vibes. And I believe this is Fuji's answer to like the Canon G7X reselling that's been going on the past couple of years. People are buying like, a 10 to 13-year-old camera in 2025, and they're paying about $2,000 for it. It's unbelievable. It's crazy, man. I wouldn't do it. But for some people, do you? It ain't tricking if you got it. Let's move on to the Fujifilm XS20. A Fujifilm XS20 is a sequel to the XS10. It uses the same sensor as the XS10, but it has an updated processor, and with that comes better video capabilities and better autofocusing. It comes with a better battery. It means better battery life. It can shoot in 6.2K open gate, it can shoot in 4K 60, and it can still deliver on those great photos. It also has the best grip out of all the Fujifilm cameras that I've tested over the past couple of years. It's not weather sealed, the EVF and the LCD isn't that great, but honestly, I love this camera. It's been my main Fuji camera, and I love filming videos on it. I also love taking photos on it as well. It's small and compact, and although some of the other cameras I've listed in this video are smaller, it provides me with what I want in like a budget hybrid camera. I find that the XH2S a little bit much for me now. It's too big, it's too clunky. I find the Fujifilm XS20 is at a great price, and it gives me what I need. I think this camera is the perfect blend for someone who actually wants to do both videos and photos equally. Some other Fuji cameras out there with its 40 megapixel sensor and its 6K recording, it just seems like it's more photos than it is video. But the XS20 strikes the perfect balance. I go out and I shoot photos with it, and whenever I want something quick and lightweight, I'll carry this camera out with me to use it to film some of my videos, and it's great that it can do a little bit of everything. So the Fujifilm also makes medium format cameras, and some notable ones that came out in the past couple of years are the GFX 100 Mark II and the GFX 100S Mark II. There's also a new fixed lens medium format camera, the GFX 100 RF as well. Now, I've tried the GFX 100 Mark II, and it's one of the best cameras in terms of image quality that I've ever seen in my life. It's a very beautiful looking camera, and it also has some decent video specs as well. I think these video specs are what you're going to see in Fujifilm's new cinema camera that's going to come out, and it's called the Fujifilm Eterna. That could be something interesting to see. But if you're a noob, you don't need to worry about these cameras. I just thought I'd share that with you and make you aware of Fujifilm's medium format line. It's awesome, but it's also expensive. A camera body and lens can set you back like 10 grand. But the shallow depth of field that you get with a medium format sensor is pretty insane though. I do like how unique the bokeh looks and how shallow it gets. It's truly a one-of-a-kind experience shooting on a medium format camera. I recommend you guys shooting with a medium format camera if you can. It will change your life. The GFX 50R on the used market has become a bit more affordable now. It costs as much as a full frame camera body, but it's quite slow. The autofocusing tech is not as good. You're going to have to slow down your process when you shoot with the GFX line. With all that out of the way, all you need to know is that Fujifilm's track record is to trickle down their flagship technology onto smaller camera bodies. These different camera bodies offer a different shooting experience, and it also hits a different price point for different target markets. There are the professionals, the prosumers, the budget-friendly folks out there, and so on. There are some compromises being made when choosing a certain camera. So I hope you guys do your due diligence when it comes to choosing the right camera for you. That being said, there's a little bit of everything for everyone, and as more Fujifilm cameras are being released, you can expect to see people selling their old cameras on the used market, which could be a potential steal for you guys. Something like the Fujifilm X-T3 is an amazing camera now. It has the same sensor as the Fujifilm XS20. It can film in 4K 60, but it can't film open gate. But it can still take great pictures. It is weather sealed, dual SD card slot, and I find the build quality a bit better than the X-T5. You can get this at an affordable deal if you don't need the latest and greatest camera. That could be another route that you guys could go. But just remember that all these cameras will more or less use the same sensor depending on the year it was released. So you're going to get the same image quality, but handling and shooting experience will be totally different from different camera bodies. So same sensors mean you're going to get consistent Fuji killers, you're going to get the film simulations, you're going to get the great looking straight out of the camera JPEGs. All the cameras that came out this past 2 to 3 years will ultimately take the same picture with the same colors. So get the right Fujifilm camera that fits your vibe. There are so many variables here, and you have to decide which camera is ultimately right for you. I know it's getting crazy because of all these new Fujifilm cameras that are coming out lately. It can be difficult to keep track of what's what. So I hope this video helps you out, and if you guys find this video helpful, make sure to leave me a like and subscribe to my channel, as it does help with the YouTube algorithm. It pushes my video out there for more viewers to see, and in doing so, it allows me to make more content for you guys. What are your thoughts on Fujifilm? What Fujifilm cameras are you looking to get into? Let me know in the comments section below, and thanks so much